Green Friday is a relatively new tradition on campus, but one of the oldest traditions on campus is the green and white color combination. For the past several years, Green Fridays have become the norm, and snapping selfies of your Green Friday pride is common. New traditions are born every day, and ones that grow from strong foundations of pride and respect can have longevity. The earliest reference to the mascot can be found in the 1928 broom in a feature of the women's basketball team, where it is reported with 8 games won and none lost, the Green and White Lassies were prime favorites for state championship. Although the ladies would soundly wallop Ole Miss 42-11, they would fall to West Tennessee Teachers for the state championship title. He's mean and he's green and he steals the scene. Since the late 1980s, the Fighting Ochre has been Delta State's unofficial mascot. Legend has it that the Fighting Ochre was born from a discussion between baseball players. Suggesting that the statesman was not intimidating enough, they decided an alternative needed to be found to inspire fear and trembling in their opponents. Looking for things that were green and ferocious, the teammates tossed around all kinds of suggestions. However, it was baseball pitcher Robert Black who made the suggestion that ochre was green, southern, and ugly. So the baseball team took their idea to the next basketball game and hollered out chants of OKRA, and other students joined in. Soon other chants such as "We're mean, we're green, and we're the Ochre team" rang out in Sillars Coliseum. From this point on, students rallied behind the Fighting Ochre, and student newspaper men Ross Riley and David Dallas brought greater fame to the newly christened unofficial mascot, publicizing its name in the statement, going so far as to refer to Sillars Coliseum as the Ochre Dome. The next 2.5 decades saw the booming rise of the Fighting Ochre, and a Beanie Baby and handmade costume were put into production. Brian Formby, a Kappa Sigma and student at Delta State, crafted the very first costume from a sleeping bag, borrowed some boxing gloves and red shoes to debut the mascot at the 1998 homecoming parade. The world's most favorite violent vegetable was alive and is on his way to stardom. After a professional makeover in the early 2000s, the Fighting Ochre made appearances on 2 episodes of Food Network's Good Eats with host Alton Brown. His fame was sealed, and subsequent university-generated short films were his starring roles as the world learned to fear the ochre. This large, prickly, bipedal vegetable can be seen at sporting events on television and roaming the campus. Regardless of your affection for the ochre or the statesman, every true Delta State fan and alumni knows, fear the ochre, respect the statesman. He is our reigning official mascot, selected and voted on by the student body in 1975 after years of unofficial use. Representing both the statesman and lady statesman, the first mascots were caricatures drawn by Ricky Noble. In the early days of Dr. Aubrey Lucas's administration, SGA officials requested that attention be given to the selection of a more definable mascot. Over the years, we had been called everything from the Greenies, the Flatlanders, and finally the Statesmen, said Wyatt. Even though the names was accepted down through the years, it was never officially adopted. Soon, a committee was formed to explore a new mascot. The Miss Delta carried a story in October of 1974 summarizing the selection process. The Delta State statesman will soon relinquish his position in favor of a cougar, a crop duster, or an alligator. These 3 choices were submitted by an anonymous committee appointed by Dr. Lucas in accordance with an earlier committee's criteria. The final decision on which mascot will be adopted lies with DSU students, faculty, and alumni. Low voter turnouts demonstrated that the options were not favored by the majority of voters. Therefore, the selection committee, chaired by mathematics professor Ray Wilson, was asked to review the issue and prepare a new ballot including the statesman. In April 1975, another mascot election was scheduled, and 948 students, faculty, and alumni submitted ballots, with 625 favoring the statesman. He hasn't had an easy rise to popularity, and he's had to defend his reign on more than one occasion. But hail to the statesman for his tenacity and determination to be a part of the DSU family. Many have worn the statesman uniform, but perhaps our most famous is our 8th president, President William N. LaForge. Named president of Delta State on April the 15th of 2013, LaForge returned to his alma mater to an anxiously excited faculty, staff, and alumni. Another alumnus was returning to lead our university. President LaForge's father had been a revered professor in the history department and the first dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. His name graces our university library. As the former Student Government Association Education president and one of the first 4 students inducted into the DSU Hall of Fame, Bill LaForge was very familiar with leadership roles amongst the Delta State family. Over the 90 years of existence, Delta State has introduced new programs, experimented with classroom design, trimmed areas that were not meeting the needs of an ever-evolving student population. However, through all of the subtle and monumental transitions, preserving the institutional history and the commitment of its faculty and staff have been important. In 2014, a class of Hill Demonstration School graduates gathered together to remember their time as some of Delta State's youngest grads by placing a historical marker in the lawn of what had been a playground outside of the Hill Demonstration School building from 1926 to 1956. Perhaps conceived of by Dr. Ziegel, the school gained a respected reputation across the state with Lori Doolittle's expert guidance for the first 12 years of its existence. The demonstration school became a laboratory for those teachers in the early elementary education program. In 1930, a new building was planned which would house administrative offices, library, auditorium, and classrooms. Hill Hall would be turned over to the elementary demonstration school. The Hill, Hardy, and Taylor families had donated the original land for the Bolivar County Agricultural High School, whose buildings form the foundation of Delta State Teachers College. It seems a fitting reminder almost 90 years later to pay homage to a class of students and the institution that taught them, while remembering that change, although at first glance can be such an uncertain thing, can also provide room for growth and new destinies. As Dr. Lucas had once shared, change then is a fact of academic life with which we must reckon constantly. If a community is to be established and the changes that are bound to come are to be handled effectively, then those involved must have confidence in their ability to meet these challenges. Let us be proud of Delta State, proud of what it has been, proud of what it is, and proud of what it can, with your help, become.